Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a paradox that honestly we all experience every single day. We're going to uncover the hidden architecture of exactly how we build deep, meaningful relationships just by staring into glowing rectangles. Seriously, we're going to break down the actual communication theories behind digital intimacy and figure out how mere pixels and text can somehow create genuine human connection.
So, can screens ever really replace physical closeness? It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, there's this incredibly persistent myth out there that digital communication is just inherently cold. We've all heard it, right? Because we lack physical cues or because we're looking at a screen instead of a real human face, our digital interactions are somehow emotionally shallow, like they're filtered. But is that actually true? Does using technology automatically destroy all that rich socio-emotional stuff? Well, today we're going to look at the data and the theories that prove why that assumption is just fundamentally flawed.
Okay, let's dive into this blueprint of digital intimacy. We'll start by busting the digital distance myth. Then, we'll redefine what closeness online actually looks like. From there, we'll talk about time and brain power, how we go about hacking human emotion, and finally, wrap things up with a mass personal future. All right, let's jump right into part one, the digital distance myth busted.
Moving right along to section 2, we are redefining closeness online, prioritizing feeling over physicality.
To really understand digital relationships, we've got to completely shift our paradigm away from physical space. We need to focus on the actual feeling of closeness. And this shift, it's anchored by a concept called psychological propinquity. That's a big term, but it basically just means the perception of relational closeness, rather than actual physical proximity. This is absolutely crucial to grasp. Communication theories show us that closeness is a feeling in your mind. It is not a GPS coordinate. Think about it. You can feel miles apart from someone sitting right next to you on a couch, but you can feel incredibly connected to someone on the exact opposite side of the planet. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast here. You can have mere physical proximity, literally just sharing a room, without feeling connected at all. But true psychological propinquity online, that's driven by two key factors: high channel bandwidth and rapid feedback speed. When you're messaging someone and they reply instantly, that rapid back and forth feedback loop over a reliable connection, it generates a powerful psychological perception of closeness. And honestly, that feeling can easily rival or even surpass just being in the same physical room.
Which brings us to section 3, time and brain power, the actual mechanics of connection.
Now that we've established closeness is psychological, how does our brain actually handle building these connections online? Well, we run into a very relatable hurdle here, the cognitive load trade-off. You see, we only have so much brain power to go around. When we communicate online, we have to make a trade-off. If we're forced to allocate our limited cognitive resources to, say, processing complex procedures or figuring out really difficult tasks, we just have way less available to pick up on socio-emotional cues. You've probably felt this yourself. If you're trying to troubleshoot a super complicated software issue with a colleague over a screen, you're not exactly bonding with them, right? Your cognitive load is completely maxed out on the task itself.
And this brilliantly illustrates that inverse relationship. When task complexity is low, let's say you're just casually texting a friend about your day, your socio-emotional focus is high. You easily pick up on their tone, their humor, their overall mood. But the second task complexity gets high, your socio-emotional focus just absolutely plummets. Your sense of psychological closeness decreases during those complex tasks because, well, your brain is busy processing procedures instead of building a relationship.
So if we need a low cognitive load to focus on emotions, what is the core ingredient that actually builds the bond? Well, the answer is time. This is explained by something called social information processing theory, or SIP. Now, SIP theory posits that deep, meaningful interpersonal bonds in a digital environment absolutely are possible, but they are achieved through sequential exchanges over an extended period of time. Because we don't have immediate physical cues like body language or eye contact, we just need more time to gather social information. Time and repetition essentially become the fundamental building blocks of digital trust. Let's walk through how this SIP mechanism actually works. It relies heavily on interactive, back-and-forth messages exchanged at a high frequency. We're not talking about sending one message a month here. It's a steady, continuous stream. And crucially, it requires extended time periods. Since we lack those nonverbal shortcuts, we have to put in the reps over time. It's kind of like a drip feed of social cues. Sure, it might take a bit longer to build a complete picture of a person online than it does face-to-face, but if you follow these steps, the resulting bond can be just as deep and just as profoundly meaningful. All right, let's keep that energy moving right into section 4, hacking human emotion through creative adaptation.
The thing is, humans aren't just sitting around patiently waiting for time to do its work. We are deeply, deeply innovative, especially in the face of technological limitations. In fact, technological constraints actually act as a massive catalyst for human creativity. The absolute lack of physical, nonverbal cues online, that's not a dead end for intimacy. It's the exact opposite. When humans are deprived of one way to express themselves, we don't just throw our hands up and give up, we invent completely new ways. The constraints of the medium literally force us to get incredibly creative with how we show we care.
So how exactly do we hack these constraints? Well, we innovate linguistic substitutes, like using all caps when we're shouting or drawing out woos to show how excited we are. We create symbolic stand-ins with emojis, GIFs, and reaction images. We are actively replicating real emotions without any physical cues. We've essentially built this entire parallel language of digital emotion just to ensure our psychological proximity stays incredibly high, no matter what kind of technological filter we're communicating through.
Which brings us to our final section, section 5, the mass personal future, and blurring the boundaries. Let's explore the wild, modern frontier of digital relationships, where we take everything we've learned about psychological closeness and scale it up in ways that were never before possible. To understand this frontier, we really have to look at mass personal hybridization. This refers to a state where individuals simultaneously leverage mass reach channels for intimate, personalized communication. I mean, really think about that. Historically, communication was either mass, like a TV broadcast to millions of people, or was interpersonal, like a private one-on-one phone call. Modern digital platforms have completely blurred those boundaries.
So the crucial point is, every single time we engage in a mass personal post, we are blending two distinct elements. Half of the equation is that mass reach channel. Maybe you're posting on a social media feed that hundreds or even thousands of people can see. But the other half is the intimate and personalized content of that specific post. You might be making an inside joke meant for exactly one specific friend, perfectly disguised right there within a public broadcast. We so seamlessly blend mass reach with deep, personalized communication in a single digital environment, and it's creating a completely new architecture for modern intimacy.
Which brings us to a final, really provocative thought. We've seen that closeness is inherently psychological. We've seen exactly how time and high-frequency exchanges build incredibly deep bonds, and how technological constraints actually fuel our emotional creativity. So I'm going to leave you with this question. If distance sparks our creativity and forces us to be so deliberate and intentional with our communication, are we actually building deeper intimacy online than we ever could offline? It's a fascinating paradigm shift, right? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep analyzing your digital interactions, keep questioning those old myths, and I'll see you next time.